Have you ever heard that saying, thoughts become things? Well, today, we're going to be looking at that idea through the lens of the Hermetic Principle of Mentalism.
Oh, very cool.
And we'll be deep diving into the Kybalion, which is a book all about Hermetic philosophy, and see if we can apply some of this ancient wisdom to our modern lives. What do you think?
I think it's really fascinating how these principles, which were developed centuries ago, can still be so relevant today. And the Kybalion really lays out a good foundation for Hermeticism with these 7 principles, and mentalism is a key one to kind of unlock so much of this.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. Like, what exactly is this principle of mentalism telling us?
The core idea, it's summed up in a pretty simple yet powerful phrase. And it comes right from the Kybalion. And it says, the all is mind, the universe is mental.
Wow, that's pretty profound. So what does that actually mean? Is it saying that, like, everything is just an illusion?
Not exactly. It's more about recognizing that everything that we experience originates in the mind. The universe, as we perceive it, is a mental creation. And at the heart of this concept is the AL, the source of everything.
So the AL is like the ultimate mind, and we're all just, like, connected to it.
That's a great way to think about it. Yeah, Hermeticism suggests that the AL is this infinite living mind. And everything in the universe, including our own individual minds, are just emanations of it. So yeah, there's a profound interconnectedness at play.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see how this connects to the idea that our thoughts can shape our reality.
Right.
But the Kybalion goes even deeper than that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it introduces this concept of mental transmutation, which essentially means that you can change your mental state and potentially even your material conditions through focused thought processes.
Mental transmutation, that kind of sounds like magic.
Yeah, you're not wrong to draw that parallel. In fact, the Kybalion refers to it as mental alchemy. You know, like the art of transforming mental states with the same kind of precision that an alchemist would use to transform, like, physical substances.
Oh.
It even draws parallels to things like, psychic influence and mental science, although it approaches them from a little bit more of a structured philosophical perspective.
Okay, wait. Transforming material conditions with thoughts? Is that actually possible?
The Kybalion suggests that it is. Think of it this way. If our thoughts have the power to influence our emotions and behaviors, which then in turn affect our actions and our choices,
Sure.
then indirectly our thoughts can influence the outcomes in our lives.
I see.
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
Okay, that makes sense. But the Kybalion also warns us about the downsides of mental transmutation, right? It's not all just sunshine and roses.
You're right. It emphasizes that mental transmutation can be used for both good and bad.
Right.
The same principles that can be applied to achieve, like, success and happiness can also be misused to manipulate or even harm others.
So like any powerful tool, it can be used for good or bad, depending on the intention behind it.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to understand the ethical implication.
Yeah.
The Kybalion stresses using this knowledge responsibly and always with a focus on, personal growth and the betterment of humanity as a whole.
That's a good reminder. We have a responsibility to use this power wisely. Now, how does this ancient philosophy connect with modern psychology? Is there any overlap there?
There are actually some interesting parallels. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy.
CBT.
Right, CBT. That focuses on the idea that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all interconnected. It teaches people to challenge and reframe their negative thought patterns.
Okay.
Much like mental transmutation kind of encourages us to transform our mental states.
So both CBT and mentalism recognize that we can change our experience just by changing our thinking.
Exactly. And even neuroscience kind of backs this up with the concept of neuroplasticity.
Right.
We now know that the brain is constantly rewiring itself based on our experiences and thoughts, which kind of gives even more power to the idea of mentalism.
That's pretty amazing. So we're not just stuck with the thoughts and beliefs we were born with. We can actually rewire our brains for a more positive experience.
That's the exciting part. By understanding how our minds work, we can really take control of our thoughts and create positive change in our lives. And guess what? That's where things start to get really practical.
Oh, I'm all ears. Let's get to the practical stuff. How can we actually apply these principles to make a real difference?
One of the most powerful ways is through visualization. The Kybalion really stresses creating these vivid mental images of your desired outcomes. Kind of like, how athletes will visualize their perfect performance or how entrepreneurs will picture their successful businesses.
Right. But sometimes I find it hard to really connect with those visualizations. It feels like I'm just daydreaming. Like, how do I make them feel more real and powerful?
That's a great question. The key is to engage all your senses. So don't just see the outcome, but also feel it, hear it, even smell it, taste it.
So it's about creating a multi-sensory experience in your mind, not just a static image.
Exactly. The more vivid and detailed you can make that visualization, the more powerful the impact it will have on your subconscious mind.
This is making so much sense. It's like creating a mental movie that totally convinces your mind that what you want is already happening.
You got it. And the more you practice visualization, the easier it will become to connect with that feeling of already having achieved your goals.
Right.
And that can actually, in turn, propel you towards actually achieving them.
This is fascinating. I'm starting to see how mentalism can be this really powerful tool for like personal transformation.
Mhm.
But I feel like there's so much more to explore. What other tools and techniques can we use to really harness this power of our thoughts?
Oh, we've just scratched the surface. Stay tuned because next time we're going to be diving into the history of mentalism.
Okay.
We'll be exploring how this ancient wisdom has really influenced philosophical and spiritual traditions throughout history.
Okay, so we've established that our thoughts have this like incredible power to shape our reality, according to the Hermetic Principle of Mentalism. But I'm curious about like the roots of this idea. Where did this concept of mentalism come from?
Well, we've been talking about the Kybalion, but you know that book itself is just one expression of a much older tradition, which is Hermeticism. And this traces back to ancient Egypt, to this kind of legendary figure named Hermes Trismegistus. He's considered the founder of Hermetic philosophy.
So we're not just talking about some like random ideas that someone just came up with. There's like a whole lineage of thought behind this.
Exactly. Hermetic teachings, including the principle of mentalism, they've been passed down through centuries. They've influenced various esoteric schools of thought, and they've even left their mark on some of the major religions.
Wow, so this concept has some serious historical weight behind it. Are there any specific examples of how these ancient traditions connect to mentalism?
Well, let's take Hermetic meditation, for example. It involves techniques for stilling the mind and achieving a state of mental clarity. It's very similar to the mindfulness practices that we see in Buddhism and other Eastern traditions. It's all about transcending the limitations of the ego and connecting with a higher consciousness.
So ancient Hermetic practitioners were basically doing mindfulness exercises like thousands of years before it became trendy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's not just meditation. The principle of mentalism has parallels in other ancient philosophies too. Like Plato, for instance, he proposed the theory of forms.
Okay.
And this theory suggests that the physical world is just a shadow of a higher realm of perfect eternal forms or ideas.
Wait, so Plato was basically saying that the world we experience is like a mental projection. That sounds a lot like mentalism.
Yeah, you're catching on. Plato believed these forms were the true reality,
Hmm.
and the physical world was just a reflection of them. And this concept really resonates with the Hermetic view that the universe is this mental projection emanating from the All.
Okay, so we're seeing how this idea that the universe is mental has been echoed throughout history and across different cultures. That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And the concept also pops up in Eastern philosophies too. The idea of Maya in Hinduism and Buddhism, which suggests that our perception of reality is an illusion, shares a similar thread with mentalism as well.
It's making me wonder if we're all just living in the Matrix.
Haha, well, maybe not quite like the movie. But these philosophies do encourage us to question our assumptions about the nature of reality and the power of our own minds.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to see how mentalism isn't just some, like, self-help fad. It's really rooted in a deep and rich history of philosophical and spiritual exploration.
Exactly. And understanding that context, it can give us a much deeper appreciation for the power and potential of these principles. It's not just about manifesting material things, it's about understanding the nature of reality itself and our role in shaping it.
This is all so fascinating. But let's shift gears a little bit and get back to the practical side of things. We talked about visualization earlier, but are there other techniques we can use to harness the power of mentalism in our daily lives?
Absolutely. One very powerful technique is affirmations.
Hmm.
The Kybalion emphasizes that by focusing your mind on what you want, you're essentially sending out this powerful vibration that can attract those things into your reality.
So affirmations are more than just wishful thinking. They're about actively shaping our thoughts and beliefs to align with our goals.
Exactly. Think of it like this. If you're constantly telling yourself, I'm not good at something, you're essentially programming your mind for failure. But if you replace those negative thoughts with positive affirmations, you start to rewire your brain for success.
Yeah, it's like we're rewriting the script of our lives by replacing limiting beliefs with empowering affirmations.
You got it. And the more you repeat those affirmations, the more you believe them, and the more likely they are to manifest in your reality.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those times when negative thoughts just keep creeping in? Like, how do we deal with those?
The key is to recognize that you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are just mental events that come and go. Don't give them more power than they deserve.
So it's about learning to observe our thoughts without judgment and letting them pass, like watching clouds drift by.
Precisely. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes to detach from those negative thought patterns and choose more empowering thoughts.
This is such an important point. We often get so caught up in our thoughts that we totally forget that we have the power to choose which ones we focus on.
Exactly. And mentalism gives us the tools to make those choices consciously and intentionally. It's not about denying the existence of negative thoughts, it's about learning to manage them so they don't control our lives.
This is making me realize just how much control we actually have over our experience. But I do wonder, if mentalism is all about creating our own reality, how do we explain the suffering and challenges that exist in the world?
That's a really profound question, and one that has puzzled philosophers for ages. Mentalism doesn't suggest that we can simply think our way out of all difficulties. The world is a very complex place, shaped by the thoughts and actions of countless individuals.
So it's not as simple as just think positive thoughts and everything will be perfect.
Unfortunately, no. We all face challenges and unexpected circumstances, but mentalism can provide a framework for navigating those challenges with greater awareness, resilience, and compassion.
That's a much more realistic perspective.
Yeah.
So while we may not be able to control everything that happens to us, we can control how we respond and how we choose to move forward.
You got it. Mentalism doesn't offer a way to avoid life's challenges, but it can empower us to face them with a more conscious and intentional mindset.
This has been a really insightful conversation. I'm starting to see how mentalism can be a powerful tool for both personal transformation and creating a better world.
I agree. And the most exciting part is we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore, from specific techniques to deeper philosophical implications.
Speaking of exploring further, we've talked a lot about the theory and concepts of mentalism, but I'm ready to get practical. How can we actually put these ideas into action and start seeing results in our lives?
That's a great question. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to apply mentalism is through journaling. It might seem like a basic tool, but trust me, it can be incredibly powerful for self-discovery and transformation.
Oh, I love journaling. It's like having a direct line to your subconscious mind. But how can we use it specifically to tap into the power of mentalism?
Well, next we'll delve into exactly how journaling can become a tool for mental transmutation and help you align your thoughts with the reality you want to create.
Okay, so journaling for mental transmutation. I'm really intrigued by this, but it seems so simple. Are you sure it's really that powerful?
Oh, it really can be. Journaling helps bring those thoughts and beliefs that we have to the surface, right? So
Yeah.
you make them conscious and then you can start working with them intentionally.
So it's like we're shining a light on those subconscious patterns that are running in the background and shaping our reality without us even knowing.
Yeah, exactly. And once you can actually see those patterns clearly, then you get to choose. You get to choose which ones to keep and which ones you're ready to let go of.
I love that. It's like weeding a garden, you got to pull out the weeds, those negative thoughts and limiting beliefs to make space for the flowers to grow all the positive thoughts and empowering beliefs.
That's a great analogy. And so to start using journaling to really tap into that power of mentalism, it all starts with becoming aware of your thoughts.
So just taking a few minutes each day to sit down and write down whatever's going through our minds.
Yes, but the key is to write without judgment. Just observe your thoughts as they come up, kind of like a scientist observing a specimen under a microscope.
So no censoring, no editing, just like pure, unfiltered thoughts just flowing onto the page.
Yeah, exactly. The goal is to become really familiar with the landscape of your own mind, to see those patterns, the habits that are shaping your experience.
Okay, so we're playing detective with our own minds. Then what happens once we start to see those patterns, a little more clearly?
Well, that's when you can start to explore what impact they're having on your life. Ask yourself, how do these thoughts make me feel? What actions do they lead me to? Are they actually helping me create the life that I want, or are they holding me back?
So it's about really connecting the dots between our thoughts and our reality,
Yeah.
right? seeing how those thought patterns are actually playing out in our everyday life.
Exactly. And once you make that connection, you can start to challenge those limiting beliefs that are no longer serving you.
So, for example, if I notice that I'm constantly thinking I'm not good enough, I can actually, start to question that belief.
Yes. Ask yourself, is this belief really true? Is there any evidence to support it? Or is this just a story that I've been telling myself this whole time?
That's where the real magic happens, when we start to rewrite those old stories with new, empowering beliefs.
You got it. And journaling really provides that perfect space to do that work. It allows you to process your thoughts, explore your beliefs, and consciously create new narratives that support your growth and your happiness.
Okay, so instead of saying, I'm not good enough, I could start affirming, I am worthy, or I'm capable. Is that what you mean by rewriting the script?
Yes, exactly. And the more you write those positive affirmations down, the more they will sink into your subconscious mind and start to shape your reality from the inside out.
Okay, I'm starting to get really excited about this.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, thinking positive thoughts, right?
Mhm.
We have to actually take action on those new beliefs.
We're absolutely right. And that's actually where the final step of the journaling process comes in. Once you've identified the new beliefs that you want to cultivate, it's really important to outline specific actions you can take to bring those beliefs to life.
Okay, so if I'm trying to get over, a fear of public speaking, for example, I might write down action steps like practice my presentation every day, or join a Toastmasters group or something.
Yeah, exactly. Break down your goals into smaller, more manageable steps that you can consistently take action on. Remember, progress over perfection.
This is so empowering.
Yeah.
It's like we're taking all this abstract philosophy and turning it into concrete steps that we can actually take to improve our lives.
And that's the beauty of mentalism. It's not just a theoretical concept. It's really a practical tool for personal growth and transformation.
Wow, this has been such an incredible deep dive into the principle of mentalism. We've covered so much, from its historical roots to the practical stuff like journaling. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how powerful my thoughts really are.
And remember, this is just the beginning. The more you explore this principle of mentalism and experiment with these tools and techniques, the more you will discover its depth and potential for personal transformation.
Now, before we wrap up, is there a final thought-provoking question that our listeners can kind of ponder as they continue their own journey with mentalism?
Yeah, I do. If your thoughts really do create your reality, what kind of world do you want to create?
That's a powerful question. It really challenges us to think beyond just our own personal desires and consider the impact of our thoughts on, the collective consciousness.
Exactly. As we learn to master our own minds, we also contribute to shaping the world around us. It's a reminder that we're all interconnected and that our thoughts have ripple effects far beyond ourselves.
What a perfect way to end our deep dive into the principle of mentalism. It's been so enlightening and inspiring, and I really hope our listeners feel empowered to harness the incredible power of their minds to create the lives and the world that they truly desire.
Yeah, and remember to keep exploring, keep practicing, and never underestimate the power of your thoughts to shape your reality.
And for those of you who are eager to keep exploring these Hermetic principles, join us next time as we delve into this fascinating concept of as above, so below, the principle of correspondence. Until then, keep those minds expanding.